Blood splattered across the white locker. The hallway froze. "Get up, freak," one of them hissed. Tall, smug, her laughter echoing off the tiles. On the floor, the shy black girl clutched her cheek, eyes burning but silent. Her books were everywhere, pages soaked in red and humiliation. Phones were out. Snickers, whispers, recording clicks, that cruel symphony of teenage cruelty. "Thought you could walk past us like you're better than everyone." The ringleader spat, pressing her knee into the girl's face again. The girl didn't cry, didn't scream, just stared. And for a second, that stare, cold, deep, unblinking, made even the bullies hesitate. Because something in her eyes didn't match the girl they thought they knew. The teacher didn't come. The crowd didn't help. And when the bell rang, they left her there, blood on the floor, silence in her mouth, rage under her breath. But what no one knew was that the girl they just broke had been trained her whole life never to show weakness. They thought they'd found a victim. They'd just awakened something else. Because the shy black girl they kneed in the face wasn't who they thought she was. The name of the girl everyone thought was weak was Naomi Carter, 15 years old, quiet, barely spoke unless a teacher called her name. The kind of girl who sat in the back of every class, hoodie up, earbuds in, pretending not to hear when people whispered. But Naomi wasn't silent because she was scared. She was silent because she knew what happened when she stopped being silent. Naomi grew up in South Memphis, in a one-bedroom apartment that rattled when trucks passed. Her mother worked double shifts at a nursing home. Strong woman, soft voice, calloused hands. Her father. Well, people in the neighborhood still spoke his name in low tones. Marcus Carter, a man built like a wall, Marine, boxing coach for the kids nobody else would train. He used to tell Naomi, "Baby girl, when the world hits you, you don't hit back out of anger. You hit back out of control." But then, one rainy night when Naomi was 9, her father didn't come home. A robbery gone wrong, they said. Self-defense turned into headlines. And suddenly, Naomi learned 2 truths. The world judged black faces fast. Silence could keep you safe. At school, Naomi learned how to disappear. She blended in, made herself small. Teachers loved her grades, ignored her eyes. The bullies, they saw quiet as weakness. They never knew that every morning before the sun came up, Naomi ran 5 miles. They never saw the heavy bag hanging from the ceiling in her tiny living room, the same one her dad taught her to hit until her knuckles bled. Every punch she threw was a prayer, every bruise a memory. She didn't fight because she wanted to hurt anyone. She fought because it was the only time she didn't feel hurt. One afternoon, her mother caught her wrapping her hands before a workout. "You don't have to be like him, Naomi," she said softly. Naomi looked up. "I'm not trying to be like him, Mama. I'm trying to remember him." Her mother smiled, but there was fear in it. The kind that comes from knowing how the world looks at strong black girls like threats, not daughters. So Naomi kept her strength hidden. She kept her hands in her pockets and her voice locked behind her teeth. She was invisible. Until the day they decided to see her. It started small. Whispers in the hall. Laughter when she passed. The ringleader was Sierra James, daughter of a local councilman, the kind of girl who thought cruelty was charisma. Sierra's friends followed her like satellites, orbiting her mean streak. At first, Naomi ignored them. She'd learned that silence killed rumors faster than words ever could. But Sierra didn't want silence. She wanted a reaction. "Why you always look so mad, Naomi?" She'd taunt in front of others. "Smile, girl. You've got pretty teeth. Use 'em." Naomi would just glance at her, that calm, dangerous quiet that Sierra mistook for fear. And that's what led to the locker scene. A shove in the hallway, a trip, laughter, and then the knee. The moment everyone would remember. But what no one saw, what no camera caught, was the way Naomi looked up after that hit. In that second, she remembered her father's voice. Control. Always control. Never give them your anger. Make them earn your peace. She'd been holding that peace for years. That night, Naomi didn't cry. She cleaned the blood off her face, stared at herself in the cracked bathroom mirror, and whispered, "You wanted quiet, Daddy, but I can't stay quiet anymore." Behind her, the heavy bag swayed gently. As if waiting, Naomi unzipped her hoodie, wrapped her hands, and stepped forward. Thud, thud, thud. Each hit echoed through the small apartment like a heartbeat getting louder, stronger. Because this time, she wasn't just fighting memories, she was preparing for war. The next morning, when she walked into school, the same crowd was there. Same lockers, same laughter, same bullies. But Naomi wasn't the same girl anymore, and soon, everyone would find out exactly who she really was. Monday morning came with gray skies and thick air, the kind that made everything feel heavy. Naomi moved through the school halls like a ghost, hoodie up, earphones dangling with no music playing. She didn't need it. The noise was already loud enough. Every whisper, every laugh that cut off when she walked by, every phone lifted slightly before dipping down again. She felt all of it. The locker where she'd been hit still had a faint reddish smear. Someone had circled it in Sharpie and written "Co-Queen." The whole hallway thought it was funny. Naomi didn't, but she didn't look away either. She just stared at it, long, slow, cold, until the laughter behind her faded. Then she walked off. In English class, Sierra sat 2 rows behind her, flicking bits of paper at her back. The teacher pretended not to notice. Naomi's pencil snapped between her fingers. But she said nothing. Sierra leaned forward and whispered, "You ever think about smiling, Naomi? You'd look less angry." Naomi turned her head just enough to meet her eyes, steady, unblinking. That look made Sierra shift a little, like she felt something she couldn't name. Then she covered it with a smirk. "What? You gonna hit me? Go ahead, let's see it." Naomi didn't blink, didn't move. Just turned back around and kept writing, but her hands were shaking. That night she ran until her legs burned. Every step was a heartbeat, every breath a word she couldn't say. Her mother saw her coming back late again, sweat-soaked, silent. "Naomi, you okay, baby?" "Yeah. You sure?" "I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She was fire-trapped under glass. The next day, Sierra upped the game. She'd posted the locker video online. The caption read, "When the quiet ones finally learned to kneel." Within hours, it had thousands of views. Naomi saw it during lunch. The video looped over and over her on the floor. The laughter, the blood. She scrolled through comments she'd never forget. "Girl got folded like homework. Where's her daddy?" Oh wait, she's lucky it wasn't worse. Her hands clenched so tight her nails broke skin. The cafeteria felt like it was spinning across the room. Sierra was laughing with her friend's phone out, watching the same video. She caught Naomi's eye and mouthed a smile. Naomi stood up. The room went quiet. Even Sierra froze. For a second, everyone thought Naomi was finally going to do it snap. Flip the table. Swing. But she didn't. She just picked up her tray, walked over to the trash, and dumped her food without a word. Then she looked straight at Sierra and said, calm as ice, "You're brave when there's a camera, huh?" Sierra's smirk faltered. Naomi didn't wait for a reply. She just walked out. But that line, it spread through the hallways faster than the video did. "You're brave when there's a camera, huh?" It was subtle, but the balance had started to shift. That night, Naomi found herself scrolling through her father's old photos. The ones her mother kept in a box she rarely touched. Pictures of him training Marines. Medals from tournaments, a younger Naomi sitting on his shoulders, both smiling. On the back of one photo was his handwriting. "Courage is quiet until it's needed." Naomi stared at the words. Her father had fought for people who didn't even know his name. Now she couldn't even fight for herself. She set the photo down and unwrapped her hand tape. Her knuckles were already bruised from practice. Deep, purple, raw. "Courage is quiet," she whispered, but mine's starting to get loud. The following week, Sierra's cruelty turned creative. She started a fake Instagram account at Shigerfail, full of edited pictures of Naomi, her face photoshopped into jokes, her hoodie color changed. Captions like she'd be pretty if she tried. Teachers called it cyberbullying. Students called it just jokes. Naomi called it fuel. She started training harder, longer runs before dawn. Heavier bags, tighter discipline. Her father's old friend, Coach Daniels, saw her one morning. He'd known Marcus since the Corps. He hadn't seen Naomi in years. "You look like your old man," he said, watching her hit the bag. "You've got his hands too. You training for something?" "Just life," Naomi said. Daniels studied her, the calm in her eyes, the focus in her breathing. "Be careful, kid. That kind of calm only comes before a storm." Naomi smiled for the first time in weeks. "Maybe it's time for one?" Back at school, word spread that Sierra and her crew were planning something big, a senior prank. They called it, it wasn't a prank. They'd found Naomi's address. After school, she came home to find her front door smeared with ketchup, "Blood Girl" written across it. Her mother's rose bushes trampled, mailbox smashed. Naomi stood there, motionless, the plastic grocery bag still in her hand. Then she saw her mother's car pulling in, tired eyes, hopeful smile, completely unaware. Naomi didn't say a word. She just wiped the door clean before her mother could see that night. She sat on the porch steps, staring into the streetlight. Somewhere deep inside, something clicked, not anger, not revenge, clarity. The next morning, Sierra came to school bragging about it. She didn't know Naomi knew, but the way Naomi walked through the hallway that day, people felt something had changed. Her shoulders were straighter. Her eyes weren't tired anymore. They were sharp. Even the teachers sensed it at lunch. Sierra made one last attempt, her biggest yet. She and her friends cornered Naomi near the bleachers, phone cameras already rolling. "Hey, Blood Girl," Sierra mocked. "You miss a spot?" Her friends laughed. One shoved Naomi's shoulder lightly, a test. Naomi didn't move. Another pushed harder. Still nothing. Sierra stepped forward. "What, too scared to fight back again?" Naomi raised her head slowly. Her voice was calm, low, steady, dangerous. "You want me to fight back, Sierra? Please." "You'd lose again? You sure about that?" The way Naomi said it, flat, emotionless, like she already knew how this would end, made Sierra hesitate. But the crowd had gathered, phones out, waiting. Sierra couldn't back down now. "Let's go then. Show me." Naomi looked around, saw all the faces, the same ones that had laughed when she bled. She took a deep breath. "Not here," she said. "What, scared?" "No, I just don't fight for your entertainment." And she walked away. The crowd parted for her. For the first time, not out of pity, out of respect. That night, Sierra's video didn't trend. Naomi's line did. Clips of her saying, "I don't fight for your entertainment," spread across social media, turned into memes. Then motivation edits. Even kids who'd mocked her started reposting it with captions like "She's real." Sierra tried to reclaim control, but the current had shifted. People were watching Naomi now, not as a victim, but as something else. Something rising. Still inside, Naomi wasn't celebrating. She was planning, because she knew bullies like Sierra didn't stop until they were forced to stop. She knew this wasn't over. And somewhere deep down, she could almost hear her father's voice again, calm, patient, proud, control. Always control. The storm doesn't shout before it hits. Naomi looked at her bruised knuckles in the dim light of her room. Then she whispered, "I'm done being quiet." The next day, when Sierra finally crossed the line, when she went too far, too public, too cruel, the world would see exactly what Naomi had been holding back. And this time, no one would ever forget her name. Rain hammered the parking lot like fists on a drum. It was Friday, 1 week since the cafeteria confrontation, and the whole school buzzed with something electric, expectant. Word had spread that Sierra planned to end it that day. No one knew what that meant exactly, but when Sierra said it, people listened. Naomi felt it the moment she walked in. The air was thick with stares. She passed clusters of whispering students, faces she used to think were harmless. Not anymore. She could feel her pulse in her fingertips. Her father used to say that feeling meant your body was waking up preparing for something. Halfway through third period, an anonymous text pinged on her phone. "Meet us in the old gym after school. Don't be late." Attached was a picture of her father's photo, the one she kept taped inside her locker. Torn in half, Naomi's throat tightened. They'd broken into her locker again. Her teacher kept talking, words fading into background noise. Naomi stared at the cracked screen, her reflection looking back. This wasn't about humiliation anymore. It was about erasure. For the first time, she felt no fear, just focused as the clock ticked toward the last bell. Her mind drifted to the months after her father's death. Those silent mornings in the gym where Coach Daniels had quietly taken her under his wing. He'd told her one day, "Your father trained soldiers, but he taught you something deeper, how to own your anger, not let it own you." He'd shown her the breathing rhythm the course called square air. Inhale 4 counts, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. Control in every second. She'd practiced that rhythm every day since. Even now, her breath moved like clockwork, for in, for hold, for out. For hold, by the time the final bell rang, she was calm, frighteningly calm. The old gym smelled of dust and rain. The lights flickered, half burned out. Sierra was already there with 2 friends, phones out, live stream ready. "You came," Sierra said, smiling like a cat. "Good. We were starting to think you'd hide again." Naomi looked at the torn photo on the floor, picked it up, folded it once. "You shouldn't have touched this." "What are you going to do, meditate at me?" Her friends giggled. One started recording. Naomi dropped her backpack by the bleachers. The sound echoed. "You think this is a joke, Sierra?" "Oh, it is. You're the punchline." She stepped closer, phone inches from Naomi's face. Naomi could see herself reflected in the screen, calm eyes, steady breath. Sierra jabbed her finger into Naomi's shoulder. "Say something, freak." Naomi spoke softly, almost kind. "You don't want me to?" Laughter again, nervous this time. "Oh, I do." "Come on, little boxer girl. Show me what Daddy taught you." The words hit like glass. Naomi's hand twitched. She heard her father's voice in her head, not angry, just firm. Control. Don't react. Respond. She closed her eyes for 1 second, counted for beats in, for out. Then she opened them in one movement. She stepped forward, grabbed Sierra's wrist, and twisted, not to hurt, just to stop her. The phone clattered to the ground, still recording. Sierra gasped, eyes wide. She tried to yank back, but Naomi's grip was unshakable. "Let go." "I will," Naomi said, voice steady. "After you listen?" She guided Sierra's arm down, not violently controlled, deliberate. It looked effortless, but the message was clear. She could end this any time. "You think strength looks like this?" Naomi said. "It doesn't. Strength is knowing you could break someone. And choosing not to." Sierra froze. Her friends did too. Naomi released her, stepped back. The silence that followed was heavier than any shout. The phone on the ground kept recording every second of it. Naomi knelt, picked up the phone, turned it around so the camera faced her. Her voice was calm, but the emotion trembled under it. "My name is Naomi Carter. I don't fight because I'm angry. I fight because people like you forget we bleed the same color." She paused, eyes flicking toward Sierra. "You think you hurt me? You made me stronger. You reminded me why I train, why I stay quiet, because when I speak, people finally hear me." She dropped the phone again. The clip ended with her walking out of frame. By Monday morning, that video had exploded across every platform. Someone found the live feed before Sierra could delete it. Millions of views overnight, but the story wasn't just a fight, it was transformation. The comments flooded in. "That's not violence, that's power." She handled it with grace. Respect. She's what courage looks like. The school board called her mother in for a meeting, but instead of punishment, there was applause. Teachers played the video during assemblies about bullying. Even local news outlets picked it up. Sierra's family tried to spin it, but the internet had already chosen sides. Naomi didn't gloat. She didn't post follow-ups. She just went back to class, When Sierra walked past her in the hallway, she looked down, not out of fear but shame. Later that week, Coach Daniels found Naomi in the gym again. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, gloves beside her. "So, you finally showed them," he said. Naomi shrugged. "Didn't mean to. Just got tired of hiding. That's how it happens. One day you realize silence ain't peace. It's just another cage." She smiled faintly. "I didn't even hit her, Coach. You didn't need to. You controlled the room." He handed her a small envelope, a scholarship form for the city's self-defense program. They saw the video. "They want you to help teach younger girls." Naomi blinked. "Me? Yeah, you. The shy girl who learned what real strength is?" For the first time, Naomi felt something she hadn't in years: belonging. Meanwhile, Sierra's world shrank. Her followers vanished. Her friends avoided her. The same crowd that once laughed with her now whispered behind her back. One afternoon, she found Naomi alone in the library. "No cameras this time." I came to say sorry," Sierra muttered. Naomi looked up from her book. "You don't owe me words. You owe yourself change." "I didn't know." "About your dad, or you didn't care," Naomi finished. "But now you do. That's something." Sierra nodded slowly, eyes wet. For once, she had nothing cruel to say. That night, Naomi visited her father's grave. The air smelled of cut grass and rain. She knelt, placed the repaired photo on the stone, and whispered, "You told me to stay in control. I did. But I also learned that silence doesn't protect us. Truth does." She closed her eyes and breathed, for outcome. "I'm not hiding anymore. Daddy, you can rest now." When she stood, lightning flashed in the distance. She smiled. It felt like an answer. The next morning, Naomi arrived at school early. The hallway was quiet. On her locker, someone had written in big black letters, "Respect." She ran her fingers over it, then opened the door. Inside, the same photo, whole again, hung where it belonged. Kids who once laughed now nodded when she passed. Some whispered thank yous. And when a freshman dropped her books, and a few others snickered, Naomi was the first to kneel and help her pick them up. "Don't let them see you small," she said softly. "You're bigger than you think," the girl smiled, eyes wide. Naomi walked away, shoulders straight. The story that started with blood on the floor ended with strength and silence. Naomi didn't need revenge. She'd earned something rarer: respect. Her quiet wasn't fear anymore. It was choice. Power held, not flaunted. And somewhere, in the echo of her footsteps through the hall, her father's words seemed to hum again. Control. Always control, she smiled. "Yeah, Daddy, I got it now." The first real heat of spring rolled through Memphis, thick and humming. Windows stayed open. Sneakers squeaked across sun-baked sidewalks. And for the first time in a long while, Naomi Carter walked through the world without folding herself small. Her video had stopped trending, but its echo stayed. Teachers used it in assemblies. Kids whispered it in locker rooms. Strength isn't noise. For Naomi, life had gone oddly still. She woke early, ran her miles, trained at the gym, tutored underclassmen who struggled to keep grades up. But peace, she learned, is never permanent. It's a balance you have to defend. 2 months after the gym confrontation, a new freshman named Aisha Benton transferred in bright-eyed. Nervous, skin the same rich brown Naomi used to wish she could hide. Naomi saw the look the crowd gave her, curiosity laced with cruelty. She knew that look too well. By week 2, the same voices that once mocked Naomi had found a new target. Different victim, same script. Sierra's old followers weren't cruel enough to do it in public anymore. They'd learned that lesson, but they'd created a private group chat called Just Jokes 2.0. Naomi found out when Aisha came to her after class, eyes red. "They made a meme about me. Said I talked to black. They tagged everyone." Naomi asked quietly, "Who's behind it?" "Same girls from before. Sierra's friends." Naomi closed her notebook. "Control," her father's voice whispered. She took a breath, for in, for out, and smiled slightly. Don't delete anything. We'll handle it. This time she wouldn't wait for the world to notice. She would make them see. Naomi went to Coach Daniels that evening. The gym lights glowed low, dust motes floating in golden beams. You told me once control comes before the storm, she said. What comes after? After, he smiled. That's when you teach the next one how to stand. So she did. She started a self-defense club at school, Quiet Strength. What began as 5 girls meeting after classes turned into 20 by the end of the month. They trained, talked, learned boundaries and breath. Naomi made sure every session ended the same way. Control isn't silence. It's choosing what deserves your energy. Aisha joined first. Within weeks, laughter turned to admiration. But bullies don't disappear. They adapt. The group chat started leaking screenshots of the club, calling them Angry Girls Anonymous. Someone edited a video of Aisha punching mitts and captioned it, Violence 101. Naomi saw the post late one night. Her pulse rose, but she stayed calm. Then she messaged Sierra. They met at the same cafe where the town's students usually gathered. Sierra looked smaller somehow, still put together, but quieter, almost wary. I heard about the posts, Naomi said. Sierra nodded. It's them, not me. They're trying to drag me back into it, then help me stop them. Sierra hesitated. Why would you trust me? Because you know how it feels when everyone's watching your worst moment. Oh, that landed. After a long silence, Sierra agreed. Together, they devised a plan, not revenge. Right. But Revelation Naomi would hold an open demonstration for the entire school. Quiet Strength Day, a show of confidence, empathy, and truth. Sierra would help expose the bullies running just jokes to point zero by letting their own cruelty play against them. Live. Friday, the gym shimmered, with early sunlight spilling through high windows. Posters read, Strength looks like respect. Students filled the bleachers, curious. Even teachers watched, phones ready. On the stage stood Naomi and her club gloves. Mats, confidence. Naomi stepped forward, microphone in hand, voice even. Some of you think fighting is violence. But fighting for yourself isn't about hurting people. It's about protecting what's worth loving. She nodded to Aisha. The girl demonstrated a simple wrist escape move. The crowd murmured, impressed. Then the screens behind them lit up. Sierra in the AV booth had mirrored the group chat feed. The bullies' private jokes flashed across the wall in real time, every insult. Every meme, every sneer. Gasps rippled through the gym. Names appeared beside messages. Faces turned pale. Naomi didn't shout. She just looked out over the crowd. This is what silence protects, she said. Not peace, cruelty. Students shifted, whispering. One of the bullies, a girl named Haley, stood up, furious. You can't just show our messages. That's invasion, Naomi. Cut her off, calm but sharp. You invaded someone's dignity. We're just giving it back, Haley's voice cracked. We were joking. Jokes don't need victims. The gym fell silent. Cameras rolled. Slow motion, cinematic, Haley's outrage melting into shame. Aisha standing taller beside Naomi. That was the reversal. Not fists, but truth turning on its abusers. By evening, every major Memphis news outlet had covered the event. Headlines read, Teens turn bullying into lesson on strength and forgiveness. The bullies faced suspension, but Naomi asked for something different. Make them volunteer, she told the principal. Community hours at the youth center? Let them see what kindness looks like up close. The board agreed. Justice, not vengeance. Sierra approached her afterward, uncertain. You could have ruined them. No, Naomi said. They already ruin themselves if they never learn. For the first time, Sierra smiled genuinely. You're scary, you know that? Only to people who mistake kindness for weakness. Still, the internet had its hunger. Some followers wanted Naomi to go off, to make more videos calling people out. She refused. Fame was just another trap. One night, scrolling through comments, she paused on a message. "My sister saw your video and finally stood up to her boss. Thank you." That was the real reward. She shut the phone off, exhaled. Her father's picture watched from the dresser, the edges worn soft. "We did good, huh?" she whispered. In her chest, calm bloomed like sunrise. A few weeks later, a different kind of challenge came. During a pep rally, some boys started mocking Aisha's hair. Tossing scraps of paper, whispering jokes, Naomi saw Aisha freeze, the same paralysis she used to know too well. Before Naomi could move, Aisha turned. She stood, looked at the boys, and said, "Clearly, you must be real bored to need my name in your mouth." The gym laughed with her, not at her. The boys slumped in their seats. Naomi's chest tightened with pride. That was redemption's real proof when courage spreads. Graduation came under a wide blue sky. Naomi crossed the stage, diploma in hand, scholarship sealed. Her mother cried softly in the crowd. Coach Daniels saluted from the sidelines. When her name was called, the students erupted not because of the viral video, but because of the girl who'd changed the way they saw power. After the ceremony, Sierra approached with a folded note. "For you," she said. "Something I should have said a long time ago." Inside, "Thank you for not giving up on me when everyone else would have." Naomi smiled. "Just keep paying it forward." Summer nights in Memphis smell like rain and cut grass. Naomi spent them teaching little kids how to punch pads, how to breathe through fear, how to walk tall. One small boy asked, "Miss Naomi, did you ever get scared?" "All the time," she said. "But fear's just energy waiting to be named. Once you name it, it belongs to you." The boy nodded solemnly, like he understood. Every session ended the same way she'd end every fight. Calm, grateful, grounded. Remember, she'd tell them, strength isn't about hurting. It's about healing what hurt you. Late one evening, Naomi jogged past the old high school. That locker still stood near the back hall, now scrubbed clean. Someone had taped a small note to it. "To the girl who taught us silence can roar." She touched it, smiled. A voice behind her said, "You coming to practice tomorrow?" It was Aisha, grinning, gloves slung over her shoulder. Wouldn't miss it. Walked off together under streetlights, laughter trailing behind. The camera of the mind pulls back slow motion. Warm color, the city lights stretching like constellations. A narrator's voice, Naomi's, overlays the final images. They thought breaking me would keep me quiet, but all they did was teach me how to speak louder without shouting. Sometimes revenge isn't payback. It's proof. Proof that you can rise without stepping on anyone else. And if you're watching this, wondering when it's your turn, maybe it's now. Maybe this is your moment to stand. Fade to black. Summer in Memphis came soft that year, as if the world itself wanted to rest. The air hung heavy with magnolia, and the nights hummed with crickets and porch laughter. Naomi Carter was no longer the shy girl. Around town, people used her name like a promise. Naomi Carter. It's the one who changed everything. She didn't post much anymore. Her last video had ended with one sentence. "Sometimes peace looks like walking away with your head still high." That was enough. The world around her had shifted in small but visible ways. At the high school, the lockers had been repainted, the hallways lined with posters promoting empathy and courage. The same gym where she'd once been humiliated now hosted the Quiet Strength program every Tuesday. Students of every color, every voice, came to learn what Naomi had learned the hard way, that control was not silence, and that calm was not weakness. When Naomi stepped into that gym now, there were no whispers, no stares. Just the rhythmic sound of breath and motion, fists hitting pads, laughter between drills. Every week, she watched someone new find their center, the trembling girl who finally said no, the boy who stopped apologizing for existing, the timid freshman who learned that eye contact was a kind of armor. It was more than self-defense. It was reclamation. Naomi taught them to breathe through fear, to stand when the world told them to kneel, and to use strength as a language of love. Sometimes after class, she'd stay behind, hands wrapped, eyes closed, listening to the echoes in the gym. She could almost hear her father's voice in the rhythm of the punching bags. Control. Always control, she'd whisper back. I know, Daddy. I finally understand. Outside of school, Naomi had become something of a local figure. She didn't seek fame, but it found her anyway. Community centers invited her to speak. Mothers thanked her for protecting their daughters from the things they couldn't always see. Local reporters called her the girl who taught a generation that strength can whisper. But when people asked how it felt to be a hero, Naomi always shook her head. I'm not a hero, she'd say. I'm just someone who stopped hiding, still. There were moments when the weight of everything she'd lived through crept back in. Nights when thunder rolled, and she could still feel that knee against her face. The laughter, the sting of humiliation. Trauma doesn't leave politely. It lingers in corners. On those nights, she'd lace up her shoes and run. Down the empty streets, past the school, past the old gym, through the whispering trees by the river. Each step was a release. Each breath a reminder that she'd survived. Sometimes she'd stop at the riverbank, sit cross-legged, and watch the reflections tremble across the dark water. Memphis lights danced on the surface, broken but beautiful like her. One evening, Aisha joined her there. The air was cool, the smell of rain faint in the distance. They sat in silence for a while before Aisha spoke. You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't stood up that day? Naomi's eyes softened. Every day, she said. And every day I remind myself, courage doesn't erase fear. It walks beside it. Aisha smiled, hugging her knees. You changed my life, Naomi. You know that? Naomi looked at her, then back at the water. You changed your own life. I just showed you the mirror. You sat like that until the stars came out, quiet and free. Months passed. Naomi started college, a scholarship in psychology and human development. She wanted to understand why people hurt others, and more importantly, how to help them heal. On the first day of class, her professor asked everyone to share one word that defined them. Some said ambitious. Others said curious. One even said tired. When it came to Naomi, she thought for a moment and said evolving. The professor smiled. Why that word? Naomi looked down at her hands, scarred, strong, alive. Because we don't stay broken forever. We just learn new shapes. Her story didn't fade online. It grew quietly. People she'd never met sent messages. Survivors of bullying, of abuse, of silence. They said her calm gave them hope. They said her story reminded them that even when the world laughs, can't define your worth. One message stood out. My daughter saw your video, finally told me what's been happening at her school. She said, if you can stand, so can she. Thank you, Naomi cried when she read that. Not tears of sadness, but of release, because it meant her pain had purpose. A year later, the school invited her back as a guest speaker for the new freshman. She walked into the same auditorium where she'd once sat invisible, hands in her hoodie, avoiding the world. Now, hundreds of eyes followed her with respect. She began without notes, voice low but clear. You're going to meet people who mistake your quiet for weakness. You'll meet others who think your kindness means they can take from you. Let them think that. Because when you finally show them who you are, make sure it's not through rage. Make it through grace. Power isn't about making others small. It's about showing them how to rise. She paused. The room was silent, the kind of silence that listens. I used to think silence protected me, but it didn't. It just kept me invisible. So speak when it matters. Not for noise, but for truth. Because truth once spoken never dies. The crowd rose in applause. Somewhere in the back, Aisha clapped the loudest. After the event, Naomi lingered in the empty hall. The air smelled like old floor polish and memory. She traced her fingers along the lockers as she walked. Her fingertips brushed against the one that won, where it all began. Someone had taped a fresh quote over it. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Naomi smiled, eyes glistening. She reached into her bag, pulled out a single white rose, and placed it gently beneath the quote. For the girl I used to be, she whispered, and for the ones still learning, they can bloom. Then she turned and walked away, shoulders straight, Steps steady, no longer the quiet girl, but the woman she was always meant to become. Outside, the sunset painted the sky gold and crimson. The light touched her skin and made her glow. She thought about her father again, his lessons, his strength, his belief that she was destined for more. She whispered to the wind, "I get it now, Daddy. You didn't teach me how to fight. You taught me how to be still." And for a moment, she swore she felt his presence beside her, solid, proud, at peace. She smiled through tears, letting the wind dry them away. That night, as she sat on her dorm balcony, Naomi picked up her journal and wrote a single line. "The world tried to teach me fear, but my heart learned freedom." She closed the book, looked out at the campus lights, and breathed. For hold, for out, for hold. The rhythm of a life finally in harmony, somewhere below. Laughter echoed, students talking, life moving, everything ordinary again. But Naomi knew ordinary was extraordinary now. Every breath was proof. Every sunrise was a victory. And if you could freeze that moment, the quiet smile, the calm eyes, the steady breath, it would tell a story without words. A story of a girl who was broken, humiliated, forgotten. A story of a daughter who carried her father's lessons through fire and came out shining. A story of control, compassion, and the courage to stand when silence once suffocated her. Because Naomi Carter wasn't just the shy black girl who got kneed in the face. She was the girl who stood back up, not to fight back, but to rise higher. The narrator's voice, her own, closes the story softly. As the screen fades to black, when people see you quiet, they'll think you're weak. When you walk away, they'll think you're scared. Let them think that. Because power doesn't shout. Power breathes. Power waits. Power knows. And when your moment comes, don't use it to destroy. Use it to build. Because sometimes the loudest sound in the world is peace. The final frame lingers. Naomi standing beneath the streetlights, head tilted upward, eyes closed, smiling at the sky, serene, unshaken. Next time you see someone quiet, don't mistake silence for weakness. Maybe that quiet is the sound of control. Maybe it's someone holding their storm until the world's ready to see what power really looks like. Beat of silence, a breath. Then a shift. Tone warm, human. If this story hit you, if it made you feel something, then don't let it stop here. Hit subscribe. Because every week I tell real stories, stories of black strength, truth, resilience, and the power we carry even when the world tries to dim it. Quick flashes, teaser clips from other stories, a boy saving his sister, a woman confronting her past, a friend choosing forgiveness over fury. You've heard Naomi's story, but there are so many more voices that deserve to be seen, felt, remembered. The music fades softer, leaving just your voice, so join me. Let's keep telling stories that remind the world. We bend, but we don't break. We're silent, but we're not weak. We fall, but we rise. Fade to logo, black stories that matter. Next appears. Subscribe, new stories every week. This is more than a story. It's a movement. Final beat, quiet, steady heartbeat sound, then silence.